Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today we are going to be doing an Eosmon deck profile. This is going to be a really interesting deck because when I actually first discovered this particular deck, I didn't realize that you would actually have a boss monster that was technically white. And with that being said, it's also just a really unique style of play. As soon as I saw it, I just realized I had to build this particular deck. It's a really cheap deck to build anyway, and it's more so purely for fun. But that being said, it's something you can definitely enjoy, regardless of whether or not it wins or loses. But yeah, before I get started with this particular video, if you do end up enjoying it, please drop a like, share, comment, subscribe. It really means a lot for this channel, and we'll continue to support everything I'm able to make here for you guys. But with that being said, let's begin. So starting off with our level 2s, we're going to be playing Ragdoll here. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It just gives you additional memory just from unsuspending. What's so bad about that? Moving on to level 3s, we're going to be playing here 4 copies of Digimon. This essentially allows you to add any tamers that you have to your hand. And also with the inherited effect, if you just have a tamer in play, you're getting an additional 2000. I think that's really rewarding for what it is. And yes, you guys might have already realized I am focusing on playing green to support this deck. I know one of the main cards for this deck is a green card anyway, so that's why I kind of wanted to lean towards that direction. I have seen this deck being played with blue being the support, but I'm not too big a fan of its playstyle because the blue kind of strays away from the Eosmon strategy, and the whole purpose of this deck was, at least for me, I wanted to go along the whole Eosmon line of playing this particular deck. But next up, we are also playing 3 copies here of Digimon. It's just a fantastic card because as long as you have a green tamer in play, or whenever you play a green tamer, you get to gain 1 memory out of it. That's just fantastic. Also, when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, this Digimon also gets 2000 DP for the turn as well. It's a huge deal, it really helps out the deck. Now of course, our main card, which is going to be the Morphomon, this card actually does help out our deck. I feel like this particular card is a bit weak compared to the other level 3s out there, but either way you can hard play this and you could sort of go about a rookie rush strategy because this particular card has an on deletion effect, which is kind of unfortunate because it's a bit slow, but if you're going for a rookie rush strategy, you're just forcefully deleting this card anyway, allowing you to add either your Manoa Bellucci or 1 card with Eosmon to your hand, which is definitely fantastic here. So it's the card that is supposed to support this deck, though it could be a bit better, and I think one of the cards that is coming out for this deck as the future support has definitely improved upon this. So moving on to level 4s, we're going to be playing 4 copies here of Eosmon. This is the level 4 Eosmon, and I really have to emphasize that because it's going to be quite a lot of Eosmons in this particular deck. It just maintains the same name. It's funny because Ragdoll is one of the only other Digimon out there that also maintains that same name throughout its Digivolution lines. But in this particular case, this one allows you to play a white tamer for free as soon as you hard play this particular card. So definitely really nice because our main tamer, Manoa Bellucci, is actually the white tamer that supports the Eosmon deck anyway. So you're kind of taking advantage of that by playing cards for free. But that being said, the other card that we're also playing in this deck as well is going to be the Leomon. Leomon is just a great card that allows you to suspend any of your opponent's Digimon. Sure, it has to be 3000 DP or less, but that being said, you're still in the early game in this point, so the Leomon really does help out. And this kind of like plays in conjunction with the Digimon that we talked about earlier, where if during your turn your opponent's Digimon happens to be suspended, you're gaining an additional 2000 DP. So when you're going into the Leomon, you're most likely going to have 7000 DP when you utilize its effect. which is definitely quite the advantage there. So moving on to level 5s, we're going to be playing here 2 copies of Morphomon. That's the first card that we're going to be playing here. It's a really fantastic card that allows you to kind of go into your Digivolutions for free, technically, by suspending your own Digimon. And sometimes you just want to do that. It's well worth it if it means going into a free Digivolution. But that being said, we are also going to be playing here 9 copies of your Eosmon level 5s. This is definitely a really interesting card because it actually allows you to play up to 50 if you want in this particular deck, though that's not going to be good. Don't fall for the bait. Just because you're allowed to play up to 50 does not mean you should be playing 50. You don't really need that much. 9 copies might even be a bit too much. You might consider dropping this down to 8 or 7 copies. But when this card is attacking, you can just play one of your level 5 or lower Eosmons from your hand for free, which is kind of what makes it so good to play so many copies of this. Plus, its inherited effect also boosts by 1000 as well. That's not really the main part. The main part is really just spamming out more copies of this particular card. And yeah, I think the only thing we just need is to give it rush. If you give it rush, you could really just pile on a lot of things out there, but I think that would be too broken. That's really the one thing I would say that would make this deck a lot better, but I don't think we're going to get something like that. But that being said, this is still definitely a fun little engine in itself. So yeah, but we still got a lot to come with the level 6s. So speaking of level 6s, we have 4 copies here of our Eosmon. Eosmon is definitely a fantastic card. So this card here is from BT6, so it is definitely one of the more older cards out there. Or at least it's the first variation of the Eosmon level 6s. You do technically get a security attack for every 3 Digivolution cards that this Digimon has, so that's definitely nice. The potential is there. And when Digivolving, for each tamer in play, you can actually place a level 5 or lower Eosmon from your trash at the top of this Digimon's Digivolution cards in any order. And if you place 2 or more cards with this effect, you also get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon as well. And that's not restricted by levels either, so very powerful indeed, this particular card. It's a card that really leaks out a lot of potential, but whether or not you can execute that is a whole different scale, because theoretically it sounds amazing, and unfortunately it just doesn't play off as well as I'd hoped. But next up, we're playing the other Eosmon, which is from BT7, came out 1 set later. It's not as good as the first because this one's also a lot weaker as well at 11,000 DP. So the first one here, the BT6 one, is going to be winning most of your battles, if not all battles, but your other Eosmon over here doesn't win as many of them. But that being said, all of your other Eosmons also get plus 1000 DP, which is fantastic if you're spamming out a bunch of the level 5 Eosmons. But on deletion, you can also just play one of your level 5 or lower Eosmons from your hand for free, which it's a nice support, but it doesn't do anything else. It's a supporting card. That's kind of what it is. Your main one is going to be the one from BT6. Now, as for tamers, of course, we're playing 4 copies of Manoa Bellucci. This is a memory setter as well. I think that's really amazing. But on top of that, the other effects is definitely really great. I'm not going to read it because it's obviously a whole paragraph and I don't want to drag out this video. So this is something I highly recommend you play in the deck at 4 copies. I would not play any less for this particular card, given that it's so easy to get this card out for free anyway. So with that being said, why not add it onto the deck? But the other tamers we're playing is 2 of our Izzies. This just allows us to gain more memory if you suspend any of your opponent's Digimon, and we're also going to be playing the Izzy and Mimi as well. Another way to potentially gain memory, but also just get into your high-level cards for a cheaper cost. Now, for option cards, we are playing 5 cards, and at this particular point in time, you guys have already been wondering, I've been bringing up a lot of suspending your opponent's Digimon, but I haven't actually brought up any effects that actually do that. So quite a few of these tamers, or rather the options, will be focusing on the suspensions. But of course, the main one we're playing is going to be Hidden Potential Discovered. This one's more so just a cheap Digivolution that we play in pretty much all green decks out there. That being said though, we are also going to be playing 2 copies of Needle Spray, which suspends your opponent's Digimon, and we're going to be playing 2 copies of Dino Memory Boost. Not only suspending your opponent's Digimon, but also gaining 2 memory based off that delay effect. But this is essentially the deck itself. This deck definitely is lacking in many ways, and there are so many ways to actually play this deck. There are so many builds out there. You can play it with green, you can play it with blue. There are other builds out there as well that maybe I even haven't heard of, but hopefully this deck does get some support out there that really does improve it as much as I would want it to. Giving your Eosmon's Rush would probably be a bit too strong, but that's the one thing I'm actually wishing for this particular deck. I know there should be some new support coming out on the way, so it's going to be interesting to see how this deck moves along, but that being said, it's still something I can't help but enjoy. So with that being said, thanks so much for joining me in today's video. If you guys have any suggestions on how to improve this deck, please leave it in the comment section down below. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who really just want to play this deck but don't know where to get started, and I figured this one's actually going to start off as a good guide for everyone. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic day. I will see you all next time.